Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome back to Byte Reality News. What if I told you that the entire internet, and I mean almost everything, came incredibly close to a catastrophic failure last week? And it wasn't because of some massive solar flare or a hacker group you see in the movies. It was because of a single person, a ghost in the machine, who patiently worked for 2 years to plant a time bomb in the very foundation of the web. This is a wild story. And that's just our lead today. We're also going to talk about Meta getting caught in a seriously creepy situation with its Ray-Ban smart glasses, Blue Origin making some ridiculously bold promises about its new rocket, and scientists trying to literally rewrite the code of life itself. This is a packed episode, so let's get right into it. Okay, let's start with the story that should honestly be giving every tech CEO and government agency nightmares. It's about a tiny, boring-sounding piece of software called xzutils. Now, you've probably never heard of it, and you shouldn't have to. Think of it like this. When you download a big file or a program, it's usually compressed to be smaller, right? Like a zip file? xzutils is one of the tools that does that compressing and decompressing. It's a fundamental building block used in nearly every version of Linux. And Linux, my friends, runs most of the world's servers. The cloud, your bank, social media, government systems, you name it, it probably runs on Linux. It's the invisible plumbing of the internet. So, about 2 years ago, a new developer shows up in the open source community. They go by the name Jiatan. They start contributing to the xzutils project, fixing small bugs, making improvements. They're helpful, they're consistent, and over 2 years, they build up a lot of trust. So much trust, in fact, that they eventually become one of the main maintainers of the project, meaning they have the power to approve and add new code. And that's when the trap was sprung. In a recent update, Jiatan slipped in a few lines of incredibly sophisticated hidden code. This wasn't a normal bug. This was a masterfully crafted backdoor. Basically, it was a secret key that, under very specific circumstances, would allow someone to bypass all security on a server and gain complete control. We're talking about the highest level of access, called root access. It's like having a skeleton key that can open any door, disable any alarm, and access any file on millions of computers around the world. The scary part? It almost worked. The infected version of the software was already being included in test versions of major Linux distributions like Debian and Red Hat. It was weeks, maybe even days, away from being rolled out globally to millions of servers. The world was sleepwalking into a digital disaster of epic proportions. So who saved us? It wasn't a giant cybersecurity company or a government agency. It was one guy, a software engineer at Microsoft named Andres Freund. He was just doing some routine work when he noticed something weird. Logging into a test server was taking about half a second longer than it should. 500 milliseconds. That's it. Most people would have ignored it, blamed it on a slow network, and moved on. But it bugged him. It felt wrong. So he started digging. And he kept digging, falling deeper and deeper into this rabbit hole until he unraveled the entire conspiracy. He found the malicious code, realized what it did, and raised the alarm. The entire tech world then scrambled, issuing emergency patches and warnings. A global catastrophe was averted because one person was curious about a half-second delay. So, who is Jiatan? Well, they've vanished. Their online accounts are gone. The consensus among security experts is that this wasn't one person. The level of skill, patience, and resources involved screams state-sponsored hacking group. We don't know which country, but this was a nation-state level attack on the world's digital infrastructure. It's honestly terrifying because it shows a huge vulnerability in the open source world, which relies on trust. But at the same time, it's also an amazing story about how that same community can self-heal, with one person's curiosity saving everyone. This has sent a shockwave through the industry, and everyone is now double and triple checking the code that runs our world. Okay. From a threat hidden in code to a threat hidden in plain sight. Let's talk about Meta and their Ray-Ban smart glasses. You know, the ones with a camera built in so you can record your life from a first-person perspective. Well, it turns out that some of the people viewing that footage saw way more than they bargained for. Meta uses contractors to review snippets of audio and video from its devices to help train their artificial intelligence. This is pretty standard practice, though still a bit creepy. But according to a report, contractors working on the Ray-Ban project were seeing some incredibly private and explicit content. We're talking about people using the bathroom, people in states of undress, and yes, even people having sex, all captured by the glasses. Now, the really bad part of this story isn't just the privacy invasion itself. It's how Meta allegedly handled it. According to the report, several contractors who raised concerns about this explicit content and felt uncomfortable were simply let go. One contractor was reportedly fired just days after asking how to handle a video that showed two people being intimate. This sends a horrible message. It basically looks like they're punishing the people who are trying to do the right thing. Meta, for its part, says the data is anonymized and that they have strict protocols. But clearly, something is breaking down here. Anonymized or not, a human being is still watching these deeply personal moments. It raises a huge question. When we buy these devices that are always watching and always listening, where do we draw the line? I think we all knew this was a potential risk, but seeing it laid out like this, with people literally losing their jobs for reporting it, is just a really bad look for Meta and a chilling reminder of the price of convenience. All right, let's shift gears from cyberspace to outer space. Jeff Bezos' rocket company, Blue Origin, has been relatively quiet compared to the spectacle of SpaceX. Their New Shepard rocket takes tourists on short suborbital hops, but their real competitor to SpaceX's Falcon 9, the giant reusable rocket called New Glenn, has been in development for years with many delays. Well, it seems like Blue Origin is ready to come out swinging. At a recent conference, a company executive revealed their launch manifest for New Glenn, and it is ambitious with a capital A. They are planning for 44 launches of this brand new rocket in a single year. Let's put that into perspective. New Glenn has not had a single orbital flight yet. Not one. To go from 0 flights to 44 in a year is, to put it mildly, an incredibly aggressive target. For comparison, it took SpaceX years of flying and refining its Falcon 9 rocket to reach that kind of launch rate. And they make it look easy now, but it was a long, hard road to get there. This announcement feels like Blue Origin planting a flag and declaring that they are ready to seriously compete for the massive launch contracts that SpaceX has been dominating. They have a huge factory in Florida, they're building the infrastructure, and they have a massive backlog of customers, including Amazon's Kuiper Internet satellite constellation. So, can they actually do it? Honestly, it seems highly unlikely they'll hit that 44 launch number in their first full year of operations. Rocket science is notoriously difficult, and new vehicles always have growing pains. But I love the audacity. It signals a huge amount of confidence in their vehicle and their production process. The space industry desperately needs more competition to drive down costs and increase access to orbit. So, while I'm skeptical of the exact number, I'm genuinely excited to see New Glenn finally take to the skies. Let's just hope we see its first launch sometime soon. Now, for a story that sounds like it was pulled straight from a science fiction novel, you might remember from biology class that all life on Earth, from bacteria to plants to you and me, is built from 20 fundamental building blocks called amino acids. These amino acids link together to form proteins. And proteins are the little machines that do basically everything in our bodies. For decades, this number 20 has been considered a fundamental, unchangeable rule of biology. Well, researchers are now actively trying to break that rule. A team at the Medical Research Council Laboratory of Molecular Biology is working on a massive project to create a synthetic organism that operates on just 19 amino acids. Their goal is to systematically go through an organism's entire genetic code and replace every instance of one specific amino acid with another one that does a similar job. It's like trying to rewrite an entire library of books, but you're not allowed to use the letter E. It's an incredibly complex challenge. So, why on earth would they want to do this? The potential applications are mind-blowing. First, security. If you create a bacteria that doesn't use all 20 amino acids, it could be completely immune to most viruses, because viruses need all 20 of those building blocks to replicate themselves. Imagine creating virus-proof cells that could be used as factories to produce medicines like insulin, making the process safer and more efficient. But it gets even cooler. Once you've freed up one of the 20 slots in the genetic code, you can then design a brand new artificial amino acid to put in its place. This would allow us to create proteins and materials that nature has never seen before. We could potentially design self-healing plastics, hyper-efficient enzymes for biofuels, or new types of drugs. We are talking about fundamentally rewriting the operating system of life to build things we can't even conceive of yet. It's still in the early research stages, but this is one of those areas of science that could genuinely change the world in the coming decades. And finally, to wrap things up on a lighter and much creepier note, let's talk about video games. Capcom has started teasing its next big thing, and it looks an awful lot like a new Resident Evil. They dropped a mysterious video on a new website called A Traveler's Blog. The video is short and in a found footage style, showing a person who seems to be stranded in a very spooky rural area. They're trying to get a signal on their phone, and the whole vibe is just pure classic horror. It's dark, it's unsettling, and it doesn't show you much, which is what makes it so effective. Fans are already tearing the teaser apart, and some have noticed mentions of Dulvey, Louisiana, which is the setting for the incredible Resident Evil 7 biohazard. This has everyone speculating that this could be a direct sequel, a prequel, or a side story connected to the Baker family saga. Whatever it is, Capcom has absolutely nailed the marketing here. This kind of slow, mysterious reveal gets the community buzzing and builds up hype perfectly. After the fantastic remakes and the success of Village, the bar is set very high for the next entry in the series. Personally, I am so ready for more of that first-person Southern Gothic horror that made Resident Evil 7 so terrifying and refreshing. I'll be keeping a close eye on this one. So, there you have it. From a digital ghost who almost broke the internet to the future of life itself being rewritten in a lab, it's been another wild week in the world of tech. If this content made sense to you and you learned something new, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really does help the channel grow and reach more people. Send this video to a friend who needs to hear about this stuff. And, of course, if you're not already, make sure you subscribe and ring that little notification bell so you never miss our next deep dive into the crazy world of technology. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.